The morning started like any other Tuesday in Earth's orbital command center. Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his coffee and reading reports when the alarm started screaming. 3 massive alien ships had just appeared at the edge of their solar system. Each ship was the size of a small city, dark and covered in strange symbols that glowed with an eerie blue light. Jake dropped his coffee cup and ran to the command bridge. Captain Lisa Rodriguez was already there, staring at the giant screen showing the alien vessels. Lieutenant Danny Park sat at his station, his hand shaking as he tried to make sense of the readings. "How big are they?" Jake asked. "Each one is about 50 miles long," Danny replied. "Our biggest ship is only 2 miles. We're like ants compared to them." The 3 human ships in the area were the Liberty, the Guardian, and the Defiance. They were Earth's pride and joy, built with the best technology humans had ever created. But looking at the alien monsters on the screen, they seemed like toys. A voice suddenly filled the command room. It spoke perfect English, but it was cold and mechanical, like a machine trying to sound alive. "Small creatures of the 3rd planet, we are the Zephyrian Empire. We have come to add your world to our collection. You will surrender now. Your ships will power down. Your people will prepare for processing. If you resist, we will destroy everything." Jake looked at Lisa. She looked back at him. They both knew what this meant. Earth had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they had their answer, and it was not good news. "This is Commander Morrison of Earth," Jake spoke into the communication system. "We don't know who you are, but you can't just show up and demand we surrender. Earth belongs to humans." There was a strange clicking sound from the alien ship. Admiral Krextel, the leader of the alien fleet, was laughing. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever said no to him. Most aliens begged for mercy. These humans were either very brave or very stupid. "You refuse?" the alien voice asked. "How interesting. No one has refused the Zephyrian Empire in 300 years. Admiral Krextal had conquered 17 different star systems. Every time it was the same story. His huge ships would appear, the locals would see how powerful he was, and they would surrender without a fight. The Zephyrians would then take over their planet and make the aliens work for them. But these humans were different. They were not scared enough. "Destroy the small human ships," Admiral Krextal ordered his crew. "Let them see what happens when they say no to us." The largest alien ship, called the Sovereign's Wrath, pointed a massive weapon at the Liberty. The weapon was designed to crack planets in half. Using it on a small human ship was like using a bomb to kill a fly. The weapon fired. A beam of pure energy, bright as a star, shot across space toward the Liberty. Everyone expected the human ship to disappear in a flash of light. But something amazing happened. The Liberty's shields held. The human ship was damaged. Pieces of metal flew off its hull. Lights flickered inside, smoke filled some of the rooms. But the ship did not explode. It was still alive. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster was on the Defiance. She stared at her computer screen in shock. "Sir, I'm reading their weapon patterns. These aliens are strong, but they're not smart. They only know how to fight weak enemies. They use brute force for everything." Jake smiled. Earth's ships were small, but they were fast and clever. The human designers had built them to be flexible, to adapt to any situation. The alien ships were like giant hammers, powerful but slow. "All ships, split up," Jake ordered. "Don't let them hit us all at once. Use speed and surprise." The 3 human ships spread out in different directions. The alien ships tried to follow, but they were too big and slow. It was like watching elephants try to catch rabbits. Captain Rodriguez had an idea. "Danny, can you calculate a jump behind them?" "It's dangerous, Captain. We've never tried jumping so close to enemy ships." "Do it anyway." The Guardian disappeared in a flash of light and reappeared behind the alien formation. Before the aliens could react, Lisa fired everything she had at the biggest alien ship. The Guardian's weapons were small compared to the alien guns, but they were precise. Instead of trying to blast through the alien shields with raw power, the human weapons targeted specific weak points. The alien shields flickered and sparked, For the first time in 3 centuries, a Zephyrian ship was damaged by an enemy. Admiral Krextal felt something he had never experienced before: fear. These humans were not behaving like other species. They were not running away or begging for mercy. They were fighting back, and they were good at it. The alien commander had made his first mistake. He had assumed that bigger was always better. He had assumed that raw power could beat intelligence and creativity. He was about to learn that humans were very different from other aliens. The Liberty and Defiance joined their attack. Working together, the 3 human ships moved like dancers, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. Their weapons struck the alien ships from different angles, confusing the huge vessels. Amy Foster watched her sensors carefully. Their shields are weakening. These aliens have been winning fights for so long they forgot how to lose. The battle continued for 2 hours. The alien ships were stronger, but the human ships were smarter. Every time the aliens tried one strategy, the humans tried something new. It was like a chess game where one player kept changing the rules. Finally, something wonderful happened. The Guardian fired a special weapon called a kinetic penetrator. It was just a big piece of metal moving very fast, but it was exactly what the alien shields could not stop. The metal rod punched through the alien ship's defenses and hit something important inside. The entire alien vessel exploded in a ball of fire and light. Admiral Krextal watched in horror as one of his mighty dreadnoughts was destroyed by the primitive humans. In 300 years of conquest, he had never lost a ship in battle. Now these tiny creatures had killed one of his greatest weapons. The alien commander made his second mistake. Instead of staying to fight, he decided to retreat. He told himself he needed more ships to handle these dangerous humans. All vessels, withdraw, he ordered. We will return with a larger fleet. The 2 remaining alien ships disappeared into space, leaving the humans alone with the wreckage of their victory. Jake Morrison looked around the command room. Everyone was cheering and hugging each other. They had done the impossible. They had defeated an alien invasion fleet, but Jake was not celebrating yet. He knew the aliens would be back, and next time they would bring more ships. Much more ships. Lisa, get me Earth Command, he said. We need to tell them what happened, and we need to start building more ships. A lot more ships. Captain Rodriguez nodded. She understood. This was not the end of the war. This was just the beginning. The aliens had made their first mistake by underestimating humans, but humans could not afford to make any mistakes at all. The Earth had 6 months to prepare for the next attack. 6 months to build ships, train crews, and figure out how to fight an enemy that controlled half the galaxy. 6 months to prove that humans deserved to keep their freedom. The Zephyrian Empire's first war with humans had begun, and their biggest mistake was thinking it would be easy. The news of the second defeat spread through the Zephyrian Empire like a disease. On dozens of worlds, conquered species whispered about the humans who had destroyed 26 dreadnoughts. For the first time in 3 centuries, people began to believe that the mighty empire could be beaten. On the empire's capital world, the council met in emergency session. The crystal chamber was filled with angry voices and the sound of claws scraping against stone. 2 fleets had been defeated by a single primitive world. The reputation of Zephyrian invincibility was cracking. "How is this possible?" screamed Counselor Thexra, her red eyes blazing with fury. "We have conquered 17 star systems. We have never lost a war." "The humans are different," replied Admiral Krextal, who had survived both defeats. "They do not think like other species. They adapt faster than we can respond." Council leader Vexmore slammed his massive fist on the floating table, causing it to shake. "No species is that different. Send every ship we have. Destroy their entire solar system." "That may not be wise," Krextal said carefully. "If we gather our entire fleet in one place, we leave our other worlds defenseless." "Defenseless against what?" Vexmore laughed. "What species would dare attack the Zephyrian Empire?" Admiral Krextal did not answer, but he had a terrible feeling that they were about to find out. Meanwhile, Earth had become the busiest world in human history. Every factory, every shipyard, every laboratory worked around the clock. The planet's surface was covered with construction sites where new weapons, and ships were being built. But the humans were not just building more ships. They were building better ships. Each new vessel incorporated lessons learned from fighting the aliens. The ships were faster, smarter, and more flexible than anything humans had ever created before. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of humanity's new secret weapon, a massive space station called Fortress 1. It was hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, invisible to alien sensors. "How many ships do we have now?" Jake asked Captain Lisa Rodriguez, who had become his second in command. 400 combat vessels, Lisa replied, plus 600 support ships, but that's not our real advantage. Jake smiled. "Show me." Lisa activated a holographic display that showed the entire solar system. Hundreds of small dots appeared, scattered throughout space. Each dot was a human ship, but they were not staying in one place. They were moving constantly, using the solar system itself as a weapon. "We've turned our entire solar system into a trap," Lisa explained. "Every asteroid, every moon, every space station has weapons hidden on it. When the aliens arrive, they won't be fighting our ships. They'll be fighting our entire solar system." Captain Amy Foster had spent the last 6 months perfecting humanity's stealth technology. Her ship, the Shadow, could now stay invisible even when firing its weapons. She had trained 30 other captains to use the same techniques. "The aliens think in straight lines," Amy told her pilots. "They attack from the front, they retreat to the back. They don't understand three-dimensional warfare. We're going to teach them." Major Kate Sullivan had expanded the Space Marine Corps from 100 soldiers to 10,000. Her troops were now trained to fight in any environment, on ships, on planets, in zero gravity, or underwater. They were equipped with armor that could withstand alien weapons and tools that could cut through alien hull metal. "We're not just going to board their ships," Kate told her Marines. "We're going to capture their technology, their computers, their commanders. Every alien ship we take is one more weapon in our arsenal." Dr. Sarah Kim had made the most important discovery of all. While studying captured Zephyrian computers, she had found something unexpected: records of other species the Empire had conquered. "Jake, you need to see this," Sarah said, showing him a holographic map of the galaxy. "The Zephyrian Empire isn't just 3 worlds, it's 47 worlds, and most of them aren't Zephyrian." Jake stared at the map in amazement. "You mean they conquered other species?" "Exactly. The Zephyrians are just the ruling class. Most of their empire is made up of slaves who hate them just as much as we do." This changed everything. The humans were not just fighting one species, they were fighting an empire built on conquest and slavery. And where there were slaves, there could be allies. Commander Steve Baker had been chosen to lead humanity's most dangerous mission. While the Zephyrians prepared their 3rd invasion fleet, Steve would take a small group of ships deep into enemy territory. "Our job is to find these conquered species and offer them something the Zephyrians never did," Steve told his crew: freedom. The human strike force consisted of 12 ships, all equipped with the latest stealth technology. They could travel faster than any Zephyrian vessel and hide from any sensor. Their mission was to contact the enslaved worlds and organize a rebellion. Steve's first stop was a planet called Toron, home to a species called the Belkari. The Belkari had been conquered 50 years ago and forced to work in alien factories. When Steve's ships appeared in their orbit, the local Zephyrian garrison prepared to attack. But Steve did something no Zephyrian had ever done. He talked to the slaves, people of Toron. He broadcast on all frequencies. "We are humans from Earth. We have defeated 2 Zephyrian fleets. We're here to offer you a choice: stay slaves or fight for your freedom." The response was immediate. Belkari workers in factories across the planet stopped working and picked up tools as weapons. Within hours, the entire planet was in revolt. The Zephyrian garrison was overwhelmed by millions of angry slaves who had been waiting 50 years for this moment. Captain Paul Garcia led similar missions to 6 other worlds. Each time, the pattern was the same. The humans would arrive, defeat the small Zephyrian garrisons, and free the local population. Each liberated world became a base for attacking other worlds. The Zephyrian Empire, which had seemed so strong, was actually very weak. It was held together only by fear. Once that fear was broken, the Empire began to crumble from within. Back on Earth, the humans prepared for the third Zephyrian invasion. This time, the aliens were bringing everything they had. 100 dreadnoughts, the largest fleet in their history. It was supposed to be humanity's final defeat. But the aliens did not know about the rebellion spreading through their empire. They did not know about the human bases on liberated worlds. They did not know that half their military was busy fighting slave revolts instead of preparing for war. When the third Zephyrian fleet arrived at Earth, they found something they had never seen before: a united galaxy fighting against them. Ships from 12 different species joined the human fleet. Belkari fighters flew alongside human destroyers. Kethvar cruisers provided covering fire for human boarding parties. Former slaves fought beside their liberators against their former masters. Admiral Dexmore commanded the Zephyrian fleet. He was the Empire's greatest military leader, but he had never faced anything like this. His sensors showed not just human ships but vessels from across the galaxy, all working together with perfect coordination. How are they doing this? He demanded. How are they controlling so many different species? His tactical officer, a nervous young Zephyrian named Vexital, studied the enemy formations carefully. Sir, I don't think they're controlling them. I think they're cooperating. The concept was so alien to Zephyrian thinking that Admiral Dexmore could not understand it. The Empire ruled through fear and domination. The idea of different species working together by choice was impossible for him to grasp. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans did not try to match the alien ship for ship. Instead, they used their speed and numbers to attack from every direction at once. Captain Tony Mitchell led a squadron of mixed human and alien ships in a coordinated strike on the enemy flagship. The Zephyrian shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were overwhelmed by the variety of different technologies being used against them. The alien empire was discovering that diversity was stronger than uniformity. While they had spent centuries perfecting one way of fighting, their enemies had learned dozens of different ways. Each species brought their own tactics, their own weapons, their own innovations. By the end of the battle, 60 Zephyrian dreadnoughts had been destroyed or captured. The remaining 40 ships retreated in complete disorder, carrying news of yet another impossible defeat back to the Empire Council. But this time, there was nowhere to retreat to. The rebellion had spread to 30 worlds. The Zephyrian Empire was collapsing, and the humans had barely fired a shot at their homeworlds. The aliens were learning the hardest lesson in military history. You cannot build a lasting empire on fear alone. Eventually, the conquered will find someone willing to help them fight back, and humanity was very willing to help. Admiral Krextel sat in his command chair, staring at the empty space where his mighty ship used to be. One of his 3 dreadnoughts was gone, destroyed by creatures he had called primitive just hours ago. His green blood was boiling with anger and shame. The trip back to the Zephyrian homeworld took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of thinking about how he would explain this disaster to the Empire Council. In 300 years, no Zephyrian fleet had ever lost a ship to an enemy. Now he had lost one to a species that barely knew how to fly between stars. The Empire Council met in a giant crystal chamber on the planet Zephyr Prime. 12 of the most powerful aliens in the galaxy sat around a floating table, their eyes glowing with anger as they listened to Admiral Krextal's report. You lost a dreadnought to primitives? Council leader Vexmore hissed through his sharp teeth. How is this possible? The humans are not like other species, Krextal explained. They do not fight the way we expect. Their ships are small but fast. Their weapons are weak but precise. They work together in ways we have never seen. Excuses? Another council member spat. You had 3 ships against their 3 ships. You should have crushed them like insects. Krextal's claws scraped against his chair. These insects have teeth, Honored Council. They damaged 2 of my remaining ships before I retreated. The word retreated made the council members even angrier. Zephyrians never retreated. They conquered or they died. The idea of running away from a battle was shameful beyond words. Council leader Vexmore stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. You have brought shame upon the Empire, but we will fix your mistake. Fleet Admiral Zethkol will take 48 dreadnoughts to this Earth system. He will show these humans what real power looks like. Admiral Krextal wanted to warn them. He wanted to tell them that the humans were dangerous, that they should not be underestimated. But the Council had already made up their minds. They thought bigger ships and more weapons would solve the problem. Fleet Admiral Zethkol was the Empire's greatest military commander. He had conquered more worlds than any other Zephyrian. When he heard about the human victory, he laughed so hard that his sides hurt. 48 ships against 3, he said to his officers. This will not be a battle. This will be target practice. Back on Earth, things were very different. The humans knew the aliens would return with more ships. They had 6 months to prepare, and they used every minute of it. Commander Jake Morrison now wore the uniform of an admiral. Earth's leaders had promoted him after his victory against the Zephyrians. He stood in the biggest construction yard humans had ever built, watching hundreds of workers building new ships. How many ships will we have ready? He asked Chief Engineer Rick Barnes. 237 combat vessels, sir, Rick replied, plus supply ships, medical ships, and repair ships. We're building them as fast as we can. The new human ships were bigger than the Liberty class, but still much smaller than alien dreadnoughts. However, they had something the alien ships did not have: flexibility. Each human ship could change its role depending on what was needed. A destroyer could become a supply ship. A cruiser could become a carrier. A frigate could become a boarding. Vessel Captain Lisa Rodriguez now commanded the new battleship Wolverine. It was the biggest ship humans had ever built, but it was still only 1/10 the size of a Zephyrian dreadnought. The difference was that the Wolverine was designed by people who had actually fought the aliens. Their ships are like castles, Lisa explained to her crew. Big, strong, and hard to damage. But castles have weaknesses. They're slow to turn, they're hard to repair. And most importantly, they're designed to fight other castles, not fast attackers. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster had been promoted to captain and given command of a new type of ship called the Shadow. It was designed to be invisible to alien sensors, allowing it to sneak up on enemy vessels and strike without warning. The aliens think like conquerors, Amy told her crew. They've been winning for so long that they forgot how to lose. They don't know how to adapt when their plans go wrong. While the humans built ships, they also studied everything they had, learned about Zephyrian technology. The wreckage from the destroyed alien ship had taught them many secrets. Dr. Sarah Kim, the Guardian's former science officer, now led Earth's alien technology research team. She had discovered something important about how Zephyrian ships worked. Their computers are incredibly advanced, she explained to Admiral Morrison, but they're all connected to one central brain. If we can take control of that brain, we can control their entire ship. This gave the humans a new idea. Instead of just destroying alien ships, they could capture them and turn them against their former masters. Major Kate Sullivan commanded Earth's new Space Marine Corps. Her soldiers were trained to fight inside alien ships using special armor and weapons designed for close combat in zero gravity. We're not just going to fight them, Kate told her Marines. We're going to board their ships and take them from the inside. Let's see how they like being conquered for a change. When Fleet Admiral Zethkol arrived at Earth's solar system with his massive fleet, he expected to find a broken planet ready to surrender. Instead, he found a defense network that made no sense to him. The human ships did not line up for a traditional space battle. Instead, they scattered throughout the solar system, hiding behind asteroids, moons, and space stations. Some ships were so small they looked like pieces of space junk. Where are they? Zethkol demanded. Our sensors show only a few dozen ships, but intelligence reports said they built hundreds. His tactical officer, a young Zephyrian named Kextar, studied the sensor readings carefully. Sir, I think they're using stealth technology. They could be anywhere. Zethkol's confidence began to waver. This was not how battles were supposed to work. Enemies were supposed to meet in open space and fight until one side was destroyed. These humans were playing by different rules. The battle began when the Shadow decloaked directly above the alien flagship. Captain Amy Foster fired a spread of kinetic penetrators at the command tower, causing massive damage before disappearing. Again. "What was that?" Seth Cole roared. "Where did that ship come from?" Before his crew could answer, 12 more human ships appeared from different directions, all firing at once. The alien fleet's shields absorbed most of the damage, but the coordinated attack confused their targeting systems. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from the command center on Earth's moon. His strategy was simple. Never fight the aliens on their terms. Use speed, surprise, and coordination to make up for the difference in firepower. Squadron 7, hit their port flank. Squadron 12, target their supply ships. Squadron 4, prepare for boarding action. The human attack was like a swarm of angry bees attacking a bear. Each individual bee was tiny compared to the bear, but together they could bring down even the largest predator. Captain Tony Mitchell led a group of fast attack ships in a daring assault on one of the alien dreadnoughts. Using the Shadow stealth technology to guide them past the outer defenses, his ship struck the enemy vessel's engine room with surgical precision. For the first time in his career, Fleet Admiral Seth Cole watched one of his dreadnoughts explode. Then another. Then another. The humans were not just fighting the Zephyrian Empire. They were dismantling it, one ship at a time. By the end of the battle, 26 alien dreadnoughts had been destroyed or captured. The remaining ships retreated in disorder, carrying news of another impossible human victory back to the Empire Council. The Zephyrians had made their second mistake. They had assumed that more ships would solve their problem. Instead, they had given the humans more targets to practice on. But the Empire was not finished yet. They were preparing their ultimate weapon, a fleet designed to destroy entire planets. The humans had won 2 battles, but the war was just beginning. The Zephyrian Empire Council sat in their crystal chamber, but this time the mood was very different. Fear filled the air like poison. 3 fleets had been destroyed. 30 worlds were in rebellion. The mighty empire that had ruled the galaxy for 3 centuries was falling apart. Council leader Vexmore's hands shook as he spoke. "How many ships do we have left?" 43 dreadnoughts, replied Admiral Krextall, plus maybe 200 smaller vessels. Half our fleet is fighting rebellions instead of defending our borders. This is all because of those humans, hissed Counselor Thexra. One small world has destroyed everything we built. The council members looked at each other with hatred and fear in their eyes. They had always believed that their empire was perfect, that their technology was the best in the galaxy. Now they knew the truth. They had been living a lie. "We have one option left," said Vexmore slowly. "The planet killer fleet." The chamber fell silent. Every Zephyrian knew about the planet killer fleet, but no one liked to talk about it. It was their ultimate weapon, designed to destroy entire worlds when conquest was impossible. It had never been used because the threat alone was usually enough to make enemies surrender. "Are you sure?" asked Admiral Krextall. "Once we use planet killers, there is no going back. Every species in the galaxy will know what we are capable of." "They already know what we are capable of," Vexmore replied coldly. "They know we are weak. The only way to restore fear is to show them what happens when they defy us." The planet killer fleet consisted of 12 massive ships, each one carrying weapons that could crack a world in half. They were the most powerful vessels ever built, designed to end wars by destroying everything the enemy cared about. But the Council made their greatest mistake. They assumed that humans would simply sit and wait to be destroyed. On Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the war room, looking at intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Human spies and their alien allies had been watching Zephyrian military movements for weeks. "They're building something big," reported Captain Lisa Rodriguez. "Our scouts have seen 12 ships the size of small moons gathering at their main fleet base." Dr. Sarah Kim had been analyzing the alien ship designs. "Jake, these aren't normal warships. Based on the energy readings, I think they're planet killers." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Zephyrians were planning to destroy Earth rather than conquer it. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 6 weeks, Lisa replied. maybe less. Jake looked around the room at his officers. These people had fought impossible battles and won. They had liberated worlds and freed slaves, but now they faced the ultimate test. "We're not going to sit here and wait to die," Jake said firmly. "If they want to destroy our world, they'll have to catch us first." The plan that followed was the most daring in human history. Instead of defending Earth, humanity would attack the Zephyrian homeworlds directly. While the planet killer fleet traveled toward Earth, human forces would strike at the heart of the enemy empire. Commander Steve Baker had spent months building relationships with liberated alien species. Now those relationships would be put to the ultimate test. "We need every ship, every fighter, every soldier you can spare," Steve told the leaders of the freed worlds. "This is our chance to end the Zephyrian Empire forever." The response was overwhelming. Species that had been enslaved for decades volunteered everything they had. The Belkari contributed their fast attack ships. The Kethvar provided their heavy cruisers. The Mordan offered their elite soldiers. Captain Amy Foster led the advanced scout force that would locate the planet killer fleet. Her stealth ships slipped through Zephyrian space like ghosts, mapping enemy positions and identifying targets. "I've found them," Amy reported. 12 planet killers, plus 50 escort ships. They're moving slowly, probably to save energy for the big attack. Major Kate Sullivan prepared her Space Marines for the most important mission of their lives. They would board the planet killer ships and disable them from the inside. "These ships are bigger than anything we've ever seen," Kate told her soldiers. "But they're also slower and less maneuverable. We get in fast, plant our charges, and get out before they know what hit them." The human assault fleet consisted of over 800 ships from 20 different species. It was the largest multi-species military force in galactic history. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded from the bridge of humanity's newest battleship, the Indomitable. The attack began when the planet killer fleet was still 2 weeks away from Earth. Captain Tony Mitchell led the first wave, using hit-and-run tactics to confuse the enemy escorts. "Remember," Jake broadcast to all ships, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to save our worlds. Use every advantage you have." The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The planet killer ships were incredibly powerful, but they were designed to fight planets, not mobile fleets. Their massive weapons were too slow to target the fast-moving human ships. Captain Paul Garcia led a squadron of captured Zephyrian vessels against their former masters. The irony was not lost on anyone. Alien ships crewed by humans and liberated slaves, fighting to destroy the empire that had built them. Major Sullivan's Marines used their specialized equipment to cut through the hull of the lead planet killer. Once inside, they discovered something shocking. Most of the crew were not Zephyrians, but enslaved aliens forced to operate the weapons. "Don't shoot," Kate called to her soldiers. "These aren't enemies, they're prisoners." The enslaved crews were only too happy to help the humans disable their ships. Within hours, 3 planet killers had been captured from the inside. The remaining 9 ships found themselves surrounded by enemies on all sides. Admiral Dex Cole, commanding the planet killer fleet, watched in horror as his supposedly invincible weapons were picked apart by creatures he had been taught to consider primitive. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "These ships are unstoppable." "They're not fighting the ships," his tactical officer replied. "They're fighting the crews, and half our crews are slaves who hate us." It was the final lesson in the Zephyrian Empire's education. You cannot build a lasting military on forced labor. Eventually, the enslaved will find a way to fight back. By the end of the battle, all 12 planet killer ships had been captured or destroyed. The Zephyrian Empire's ultimate weapon had become humanity's greatest victory. But the war was not over yet. While the planet killer fleet was being destroyed, Captain Lisa Rodriguez led a massive assault on the Zephyrian homeworlds. The goal was not conquest but liberation. "Attention, people of Zephyr Prime," Lisa broadcast as her ships appeared in orbit around the alien capital. "Your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your planet killers are gone. Surrender now and we will treat you fairly." The response came not from the government but from the streets. Zephyrian civilians, tired of centuries of war and oppression, rose up against their own leaders. The crystal chamber where the Empire Council met was stormed by angry crowds. "Council, Leader Vexmore was captured trying to flee in a small ship. When he was brought before Admiral Morrison, the once mighty alien leader looked small and afraid. "Your empire was built on fear," Jake told him. "But fear only works until someone decides to stop being afraid. Today, the galaxy stopped being afraid of you." The fall of the Zephyrian Empire took only 3 days. Across 47 worlds, people celebrated their freedom. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were finally free to control their own destinies. But humanity did not try to replace the Zephyrian Empire with a human empire. Instead, they helped create something new, the Galactic Alliance, where every species had an equal voice. 5 years later, Jake Morrison stood in the Assembly Hall of the new galactic government. Representatives from 60 species worked together to solve problems through cooperation instead of conquest. Former Admiral Krextall, now serving as a cultural advisor, approached Jake during a break in the proceedings. "I have learned much about your species," the alien said. "I believe I understand our mistake now." "What mistake was that?" Jake asked. "We thought strength came from dominating others. You taught us that real strength comes from helping others become strong." Jake nodded. "The strongest societies are built on trust, not fear. It took us a while to learn that lesson too. The age of galactic empires was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun. And it all started because one species refused to surrender when faced with impossible odds. The Zephyrian Empire's greatest mistake was not underestimating human technology or tactics. Their greatest mistake was underestimating the human spirit, the refusal to give up, the willingness to help others, and the belief that freedom is worth fighting for. In the end, that spirit proved stronger than any weapon the galaxy had ever seen.